Okay, Bore da pawb. I'm a Welsh learner, but sadly nowhere near able to give a talk in Welsh just yet. So that's the limit this morning, I'm afraid. So as Russell said, my name's Jennifer Cragg and I work as a heritage consultant for a company called Headland Design Associates. We're based on the Welsh Cheshire border and we work with museums, galleries and heritage sites across the UK on collections projects, consultation and community engagement, interpretive and activity planning, exhibition design and installation, graphic design, funding applications and learning resources, so a whole range of things. A high percentage of our work is in Wales, so we have a good grounding in the Welsh cultural sector and some of our team members are Welsh as well. And we've worked with colleagues across Wales on a range of different projects. So my background is in collections management and curation, working with multidisciplinary collections across different types of organisations. And last year, we were appointed by Welsh Government to develop a new collection significance toolkit for Welsh museums, which in short comprises guidance and a set of tools to help you better understand how significant and relevant your collections are. So it's been quite an involved process and there's a lot of ground to cover. So today, as Russell said, I'm just going to give you the highlights, an overview of how we've developed the toolkit, its structure and what it will help you to do. And then I'll leave time for some questions at the end. But as Russell said, I think heading into breakout rooms, so there probably won't be too much time for questions and we can maybe come back after the breakout rooms. So in 2013, Welsh Government published Why Do We Have It? A Significance Process and Template, which some of you may have used in previous significance assessment projects. And Welsh Government felt it was time for an update as the world has changed a great deal over the past decade. And they also wanted us to explore a new approach, something that would be particular to Wales, providing a suitable framework for the assessment of Welsh collections and a process that would highlight the importance of involving associated communities, including underrepresented communities and those not currently engaged with the museum or organisation. So we were appointed in late summer 2022 and our team also included Dr. Kevin Mason, who's an expert in collections management and advises museums across the UK and Ireland on collections management issues. We got started straight away and began by studying existing toolkits from the UK, Australia, Finland and the Netherlands. And we wanted to produce a toolkit that would be suitable for a wide range of users, from those with little to no experience of significance assessment work to those who've conducted this type of work before, and also for a variety of different organisations, from volunteer-run and independent museums and heritage sites to those caring for local authority, university and national collections. So I understand that not all members of Sport and Heritage are working in a museum context, but the toolkit's been designed to be flexible and you should be able to use its processes to assess your collections. So consequently, we wanted to make the language clear, explain all terminology used for those less for those less familiar with collections management, and devise a logical process and overall make conducting a significance assessment less daunting. Something that would allow for careful planning to ensure museums are putting everything in place to conduct a successful assessment. And for example, making sure they have the necessary information, resources and workspaces to proceed, and supporting them to seek input from other sources to help inform decisions. So we consulted widely across the sector in Wales with colleagues working in a variety of different organisations, first through an online survey, which was open to all, and we also set up conversations online and in person. We then held focus groups with survey respondents who said they'd be interested in taking part, and tested out some of our early ideas for the toolkit, which informed further development. And then in early 2023, we conducted a series of pilot studies with organisations who've been involved in the consultation and were keen to embark on significance assessment projects, and had several collections in mind that they thought would be good candidates for assessment. The final toolkit includes summaries of these pilot studies and case studies from other significance projects that we've been involved in or are aware of. And in January, we also ran 2 training sessions to introduce the toolkit, one for those with no previous experience, and another for those with some experience of significance work. And all of these elements of consultation informed our thinking and helped us to formulate the structure of the toolkit and refine the guidance being offered. So we discovered that 25% of respondents had been involved in a significance assessment project before, and more than half of these projects had been conducted by specialist collection staff. Most people had done an assessment because they needed to rationalise their collection and understand which pieces fitted better with their organisation's purpose. Those who hadn't done an assessment before had been put off by a lack of resources, staff, time and budget, and their collections documentation and information not being in a good enough state to inform an assessment. Respondents had found existing toolkits complicated, slow going and daunting. And they also felt that they needed to adapt the toolkits to meet their needs, or to use a combination of several to achieve what they had set out to do. And several people also said that they were frustrated that Wales didn't have a framework that was designed for Welsh collections or allowed them to assess and articulate the national or international significance of Welsh collections. So you may wonder why you need to do significance work as you're already really busy and in some cases quite stretched, but it's something that should be part of our everyday collections management work, which can positively feed into various aspects of the museum's operations and output, or the organisation, whichever type of organisation you happen to work for. And a better understanding of the significance of your collections means you can argue the case for investment in your organisation and collections, use significant statements to support funding bids, update your policies and procedures, and even inform your formal learning activities and events programmes, to name just a few things. So this new toolkit has been designed to work for a wide range of museums, from those with little to no experience of significance work to those who've embarked on significance work before using existing guidance. And it's being designed so that it can be an ongoing process. It's not a one-off thing. It's something that you're involved in all the time and you move from project to project. It's a cyclical process. So what we learned from the consultation and from our study of existing toolkits, and then also our own experience of using some of the toolkits in our past projects, led us to develop a structure that divides the work into 4 stages. And I'll go into more detail about this in a moment. But stage 1 is getting started. That's planning. This is the planning stage that will help you to understand the context of your project and set your assessment goals. Stage 2 is collections review. This stage helps you to get your collections in order, so you'll lay the groundwork for a successful assessment. Stage 3 is the significance assessment itself, and this is where you get down to the nitty-gritty of the significance work, and you can delve deeper into what you know about your chosen assessment collection. And then stage 4 is review and reassess, looking back at what you've done, how you can improve next time, and whether you met your assessment goals and what the next project might be. So stage 3 is where you conduct the significance assessment, and we've designed 4 action plans that can be used to help you achieve different assessment goals. And again, I'll run through these in a bit more detail in a mo. So the defining status action plan, that'll help you to understand how relevant your collections are to your organisation's purpose, vision and mission, what significance they hold locally or for associated communities, and whether they hold any potential for telling the story of Wales and its people, or possibly international stories. The rationalisation action plan will help you to determine which collections may not be as relevant to your mission and communities, and which may be candidates for disposal. The acquisition significance action plan can be used as a tool to assist with deciding whether to accept objects into your collection. And the exhibition significance action plan will help you decide which objects should be chosen for display, which hold greater significance for the stories you want to tell through interpretation and object selection. So each stage of the toolkit feeds into the next, so it's really important that each stage is worked through and completed. The toolkit also encourages you to be realistic about what you can achieve with the resources available. So the staff time, budget, workspaces you have available, the state of your documentation. And significance assessments can seem like an onerous task, especially if you have a large collection to tackle, or if it's something you've not embarked upon before. But we're proposing that you tackle manageable chunks of your collection at a time. You don't have to tackle the whole collection all at once. Start small to get the hang of the process and build your confidence in using the toolkit and go from there. So looking at the stages, getting started, this is where you explore why you want to conduct a significance assessment, what your significance assessment goals might be, what you're hoping to achieve. Do these goals fit with the vision, mission and purpose of your organisation? That's a recurring theme. How much do you already know about your collections, and do your collections relate to particular communities? If so, do you already engage with them? If not, how could you connect with them? And it also asks you to think about what you need to consider before starting, such as the state of your documentation, condition and access to storage, available staff, the resources needed, available workspaces, whether your workspaces and stores are safe. So we've developed a series of tools to help you work through this process and decide which collection to assess. I'll not run through those today because we haven't time, but you can find them in the toolkit, and we've given really clear instructions of how to use them with visual aids. So by the end of the first stage, you should be able to answer these questions: why you need to understand the significance of the collection, which resources you'll need to do the project, and which is the strongest collection to assess. So collections review. This stage will help you to get your collections ready for assessment, making sure your collections data will help and not hinder the assessment. A collections review tool will help you to work through your collection or group of objects and check each object against review criteria. So you may be already familiar with collections review because it's a spectrum standard if you're working in a museum context, but if you're not working in a museum context, we give lots of guidance on how to conduct a collections review. And we're suggesting that you use a sample of random objects so that you can test your processes. So the tool we've provided is a scoring system, which will help you to spot any issues with your documentation, storage or resource implications. If any issues arise, what are the causes and can they be rectified? You can then resolve any issues before progressing and make sure you understand what can be achieved before you go forward. So by the end of stage 2, you'll understand the status of your collections data and collections management systems. You'll have identified and addressed any data gaps and other issues, and you'll be able to move on to the assessment stage. And we also suggest not skipping this stage because it will cause you more problems later on and drain your resources if you have to go back and fix your collections management before you can do your assessment. So the significance assessment itself, these are the action plans again. We've designed them so that they can be tailored to meet your particular needs, the needs of the organisation, the collections and the people who are working on the project, or you can use them at face value if you choose to. And then each action plan is also accompanied by a prompt sheet, which provides a framework to structure your discussion. And the idea is that you discuss the significance of each object against certain assessment criteria rather than using a scoring system. So if you're familiar with existing significance resources, you may be more used to a scored matrix system, but these action plans have been designed to support a more qualitative and philosophical approach to assessing the significance of your collections. So I'll run through these really quickly because I'm conscious that we haven't got much time. So define a status action plan. We've talked a little bit about that already, but it'll help you to identify star collections and objects and work out which connect to particular communities, which tell important stories about Wales, and which may even be able to help you tell international stories. By the end of this process, you should be able to write a statement of significance, which I mentioned earlier, you can use for a range of different uses to support work within your organisation. So basically to argue the case for the significance of what you hold. You might, hopefully you'd never come to this, but you might have to argue the case for the retention of your collections, and you'll have significant statements to prove why they are important. You can use them for funding bids and with other investors to show why they should invest in your collections and your projects. And you might want to use them in things like your collections development policy. So it's also important at this stage to point out that the toolkit does not place any greater importance on national or international significance over local or community significance. Objects with local community significance hold just as much importance and relevance, especially if they help you to engage and connect new people with your collections. So rationalisation. This is a plan that will help you to identify objects that don't hold particular relevance or significance for your organisation's purpose, and whether they don't contribute to the telling of local, Welsh or international stories. So you may already have an existing disposal list, or you may need to draw one up from scratch. You may have an idea of what potentially doesn't match your organisation's purpose or have relevance to your local area or community, or in your case, a particular sport or sports club perhaps. And this will help you to determine whether they fit. But also rationalisation isn't just about disposal, and it may be that you just simply need to better understand your collection so you can reorganise your stores to make better use of the space and transfer maybe less significant items to a learning or handling collection perhaps. So we also point people to other guidance to make sure you're following proper Spectrum and Museums Association procedures when you're conducting a disposal process. So the acquisition significance action plan, this is where you may not have used significance assessment before to inform whether an object should be accepted into the collection. So again, does it fit with your purpose, vision and mission? And does the offer of donation or potential purchase meet your current collections development priorities? So it's been designed to be incorporated into your usual entry-level procedures, and it's a useful tool to help with the decision-making process. So it'll help you to avoid future resource and collections information issues by preventing that at source, as you'll have made well-informed decisions. So basically a way of helping you to logically work through a process so that you're not taking collections in objects into the collection that aren't relevant and that are going to cause you headaches later on, like taking up lots of storage space or needing conservation and that type of thing. So the intention is that we won't be causing resource problems for ourselves and our successors in the future. And so using this process will also contribute towards you producing comprehensive entry paperwork and history files. And that in turn feeds into collections management records and future significance work, and also provides a good grounding when you come to interpret the objects as well, because you've got lots of lovely information that will help you to write great exhibition text. So the exhibition significance action plan is something we added later on. And this will help you to identify collections or objects that add value to an exhibition or display, whether temporary or semi-permanent. So again, does the object match closely to the purpose of the proposed exhibition or display, and does it add value to the subject? Is the object supported by sufficient associated information to enable intellectual access by your chosen audience? So basically, does it have enough info that you can write really great exhibition text and people can engage with the objects? And are you including the object in the display because it has significance to the purpose of the exhibition, or because it has general significance to the museum? So it'll help you to identify collections or objects that strongly support the purpose of your exhibition by providing a direct and accessible link to the subject, and also help you to create a hierarchy of objects that can help when designing an exhibition that makes this subject as accessible to as many people as possible. So I'm sorry I'm rattling through these. As I said, there's a lot of ground to cover, and I could go on all day, but we're nearly there. So as I mentioned at the start, community is at the heart of the new toolkit, and it was something Welsh Government really wanted us to focus on. So each action plan at assessment stage encourages museums to involve associated communities in the conversation. So in the toolkit, we define community as people and places associated with the purpose and mission of the organisation. And these may be underrepresented groups or people you haven't engaged with before. They may be sports enthusiasts, fans of a particular club, players, those involved in the running of a club, a whole range of people with valuable knowledge and lived experience that could contribute to discussions about the significance of objects connected to their lives, culture, faith, experience. And we also advise people to seek input from external specialists and point them to resources where they can find that subject specialist knowledge, like subject specialist networks and groups such as your own. And we think we know, so we often think we know what is significant in our collections, and unconscious bias can creep in. So it's important that we seek external verification as well through peer review, that might be from colleagues working with similar collections, researchers, academics, or other appropriate sources, which will help to confirm our conclusions about what's significant in our collections. So final slide. The final stage is review and reassessment. So this is an opportunity to review the process and plan for your next project so you can build on the good work you've already done. You can review the project with colleagues who've worked on the assessment, discuss what did and didn't work well. And this doesn't have to, again, it doesn't have to be a big onerous task. It could just take the form of an evaluation meeting, much like you would set up to discuss an exhibition after it's closed, or the end of another project, and just discuss what worked well and what you could improve upon next time. So that can often be tricky, but it's best to be honest with yourselves so that you're not being over ambitious next time and setting yourself up for a fall, and be honest about whether you met all of your assessment goals and what you might need to adjust next time to make things work better. So I've definitely talked for long enough. And I'll just leave you with this diagram, which is a sort of workflow chart that we've put together that shows you all of the stages and how they work together.